You ever have one of those stupid ideas where you're like, we should take a car and do something crazy with it? Well, we have one of those ideas, and it involves a '69 Camaro and Summit Racing. So the idea is to take this car, we're gonna run faster than 9 seconds, make over 900 horse, and we're gonna do it in only 9 days' time.
Every crazy project needs some crazy friends to help you out. So to make our crazy project a reality, we came to Big 3 Racing in Hinckley, Ohio, where we got Chuck, Bob, and Rick to kind of mold this project into what we need. And these guys are awesome wrenches. They do drag and drive stuff, so they're used to tight timelines, getting things done in a hurry when it needs to get done. So they're the perfect mix for this.
We have one slight problem. There's no power in it. It's just a rolling chassis. So we called in all of our favors with all of our friends. We made this a party. We've got an LME L8T engine going in it, an ATI Turbo 400, strange rear end and brakes, QA1 suspension. We called in our buddies at Summit to help provide all of the other parts we need to get this thing from rolling chassis to finished car.
This is Project 899. You're watching Power and Performance.
All right, so the plan today, before we get that motor in, we have to get the steering column in, or the old one out, actually, and get all the factory steering stuff out of it. Bob, you're gonna get the column in. Then we can start tackling the engine, make sure the oil pan is gonna drive with that rack and pinion. That's gonna be the biggest thing, my biggest concern for today. Other than getting the trans in, we got to get the rear end in so that we can get that drive shaft ordered today. I'm going to jump in and start doing some of the wiring, decipher what's left, kind of figure out where we're going to go. We got to get those headers on, see if we're going to be making some headers for it or if that's going to work. Our goal is to not transfer any of these items to down here. That's the plan. So let's do it.
As part of this build, we're going to be putting a new Flaming River steering rack in this car to help upgrade and update the steering. It had a factory steering box in it. The interesting thing to note is with this steering rack, it's made to work with a Gen 1 small block. We're going to find out if it'll work with our L8T. Getting it in shouldn't be an issue. Again, we'll find out if it works with our engine when we get our engine in the car. All right, so to get all of our horsepower to the ground, we wanted to, again, ensure we had no issues, so we called our friends at Strange. They hooked us up with one of their fabricated 9-inch housings, one of their HD 9-inch center sections, and their new stainless steel brakes. So we're about to get this in the car, and we'll get back to you.
I think we need bushings because we need the extra depth. You know what I'm saying? Basically, we're having some issues with the mount on the rear end, and we're having to change the bracket on the cow track setup. So we're getting the right one so we can just bolt everything together rather than have to fabricate a bunch of stuff to fix this issue.
We're almost ready for the moment that we're all wanting to get to, getting the engine in the car. For the power plant, we called on late model engines. We ordered up one of their packages that they're now offering. It's an L8T Gen 5 motor from LME. Starting from top to bottom, they've got their billet valley cover on it, along with their billet front cover, billet valve covers. It's got CID cylinder heads on it. They're one of the few aftermarket companies that make a high quality CNC ported cylinder head for the Gen 5 engines. It's got Cali's Compstar crank and rods in it, along with piston spec by LME from Diamond. It's got a K-Tech oil pump in it. Again, they're one of the few companies that make a high quality, high performance oil pump for these Gen 5 engines. We should have no problems getting to our power level. We've got to get the blower on it next, and then we'll get it in the car. electrical shifting duties in our Camaro. We called on ATI. They hooked us up with one of their 1500 horsepower rated turbo 400 transmissions and one of their billet bolt together converters. This thing should have no problem handling what we're going to throw at it and get us to our time goal on the track.
So it might need some riser, a half inch. Obviously this is considerably more than a couple washers, so I'm going to see what I can come up with and just make it work. But our driveline angle seems to be pretty well. 2.8 down, if I can get a 2.5 down, but we're kind of hitting the tunnel, so I don't want to go up much more. These are going to be the spacers for the back of the transmission. I'm going to clean them up a little bit, drill a couple holes in them, and try to get the height right.
The rack out so we can machine these billet adapters, about 100 thousandths, just to give us a little more oil pan clearance. It's very close and it looks like it might be touching in one spot. So when the engine rattles, it might rub into it and cause problems. So we're gonna chuck it up in the mill over there, knock 100 thousandths to move the rack just forward just a little bit to give us a little bit of room to make us feel warm and fuzzy inside.
We found out that our engine is a pretty tight fit in the car. So the next step is to see if our hooker headers are going to fit. Even though they're made to swap an LT into a first gen Camaro, we've got to make sure that they fit.
This side is going to be good, I think. So this goes right where the rack is. What you're going to do?
We don't know yet. We cut things and move them.
And then we're going to make sure while I'm doing it, that's not how I would do it.
All right, so for making all the boost and adding power to our drivetrain, we contacted Whipple. They sent us their new Gen 5 3-liter blower. This is actually the model made for the L8T that's getting released to the public soon. It's got the intercooler on top instead of intercooler on bottom. It should be good for all the power that we're trying to make. We're about to get it in the car.
So we're nearing the end of day one. We still have a couple things we can do. As far as the list I went over at the beginning, we probably failed that list. However, we got a lot of the big items figured out. We figured out that the driver's side header is not going to fit. We had to cut it pretty much in half and start over. We had to do a lot with the transmission to make all that fit. Spacers and everything. We had a lot to do with the rack and pinion, trying to make that fit. So it's been challenging nonetheless. The rear end is not bolted in. It's sitting there and zip tied in. However, I don't think that meets any kind of compliance as far as being zip tied in. At least I haven't seen that yet. Maybe some hose clamps might do the trick. Started going over some of the wiring, but it's 5 minutes worth of work that I've done so far on that. So we're going to try to get a couple more things buttoned up, but yeah, we're going to be waiting until tomorrow to get some of the parts and stuff to fix everything that we could not get done today.
Build like this is a lot like a championship prize fight. You're going to get hit in the first round, but once you figure it out, you can move forward from there.
Right.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 at Big 3 Racing. As you can see, things are already hopping, including Chris. Rick's working on setting up the headers in the car. Yesterday we got the engine installed, transmission bolted up, converter bolted up, rear end setting in there. We got the steering column in and got the blower put on. So today we're going to work on the front end of the car. We're going to do the front suspension, mount some components, and put the accessory drive on the engine. Let's go make some more progress. What the crap?
We needed the engine in to comfortably take these springs out, but we wanted to make sure the engine fit with this rack, but the rack is now in the way of the control arm coming out. So now we have to take the rack back out. In order to take the rack out, we have to take the headers back off. Well, that one's gonna come off anyway, but this one has to come off so we can get the bolts out for the rack, so we can get the bolts out for the lower control arm.
Okay, let's come down with it.
Normal problems.
Wrenching my life away, Chris. Now we're diving into the suspension on our Camaro. To get it sitting low the way we want it and handling the way we want it on the drag strip, we've gone with QA1 upper and lower control arms and coilovers. Control arms are in, about to put the coilovers in. So now we're ready to install our QA1 coilovers on the front. These are double adjustable units that feature roller bearings on the preload adjustment. Really allows us to set our ride height and preload on our coil spring. They also feature a double adjustable shock that allows us to dial in compression and rebound when we're on the track.
It's coming.
Not everything has to make sense.
Got 2 tubes to remake. This one I'm already feeling pretty good about. Tack them together. Try again. Now I need to guess.
Since these headers were designed for a car with a factory-style steering box, when we put the rack and pinion in it, they hit. So headers, header tube number 1 and number 3 had to be moved, so the rack and pinion steering shaft could go right through it. So we cut them out, had to get to a spot where we could weld them again on the header since it was already a pre-built header. Fit them up. Now we're going to go test fit for a final time, make sure it fits, but I feel very confident that it should be good. One thing I didn't do was tack the header together and see if it can actually go in one piece. So now we're gonna find out. Love when a plan comes together, it fits like a glove.
I hear that.
Started making this panel, trying to lay everything out so I can figure out exactly where everything needs to go. This is I'm going to use as a starter relay so we can actually switch voltage over and put an interrupt in it for the neutral safety switch. We have the arc panel box, which is going to be all of our relays for fuel pump, trans fan and everything. Also has all the fuses for it. We have our nitrous solenoid. We use our nitrous driver solenoid, solid state relay. We use this for the trans brake. So trans brake input, and then we convert it into this, and that way we can pulse it if we have to or do anything like that. And then a couple different bulkheads, one for constant power and one for chassis ground. Mainly this way we have one spot just for constant 12 volts and one spot for ground. So if we need to add circuits, it's super easy instead of running something all the way back to the battery or over to the starter. So this is way easier to do it this way.
Well, we are on a parts run heading to Summit Racing Equipment's worldwide headquarters and flagship store in Talmadge. Have some stuff that we found through our different adventures working on the car, some stuff that didn't fit how it needed to fit, needs some different parts. So we hit our friends up at Summit. Of course, they had what we needed, and instead of wasting another day shipping it, we're jumping in the old Top Fuel Kia and heading down the highways and byways to go get us some parts and keep the project rolling. All right, we've secured our parts. Back to the shop to work on the Camaro.
Thinking, so mounting the ECU. We're going to keep it up and out of the way for any passengers, and hide the wiring as much as possible, but still be accessible. Yeah, well, just yeah, we're trying to get some screws in there right now, and normal fun stuff here. I have to be under here because Chuck's head is physically large and he can't fit.
And Bob loves to lay down.
Oh
so
my god. Alright, I'm gonna try to hold your hand. My elbow just started hurting.
if you need to, it's okay. Do things with the steering.
One of the first tasks that we're going to try to accomplish this morning is getting our accessory drive on. We chose a Wegner. It comes with everything needed on the front of the engine: water pump, power steering pump, AC drive, alternator. Comes with blower pulleys. We only need the small one because we're going to make all the boost. Take a little while to get it all on. We'll get it going.
Put the belt on.
Oh yeah, the belt. The kit we got came with an AC compressor, which we don't need. But we're just going to leave it there for maybe down the road. The belt tries to occupy the same space as the upper control arm, so they are now sending us a idler to delete the AC. That hopefully will move the belt towards the water pump enough to clear the upper control arm, but we'll see. We should have it tomorrow.
So we're finishing up day 2. We're just about ready to put in the radiator. To do this, we've got a Be Cool 2-core radiator or 2-row radiator. This car may see some extended miles on the street, so this will keep everything nice and cool.
Since our new Stranger end came with factory purchase for a 67 to 69 Camaro, we needed to call up Caltrax and get these adapter plates, which is like a shim spacer and gives it a locating hole to locate it in the leaf spring, as well as new brackets to go on the bottom of the rear end to support the Caltrax. So I'm going to go ahead and fit these, grind some powder coat, and then TIG weld them in.
Well, every project has a plan until you crack your first wrench, and then things kind of go askew. The plan this morning was to start out putting the accessory drive and just keep rolling right along. However, we learned that to get the accessory drive on how we needed it, we needed to finish the front suspension first. So we had to play with the front suspension to get that done. At the same time, while Rick was working on finishing up the header, plus Chuck started whittling away at the wiring. So with a project like this, again, there is no linear path. You kind of go, realize you hit a stopping point or problem, and branch off and do this and this, that. So there's a lot of balls in the air right now to get all of this stuff done so we can keep moving forward.
Woo. Welcome to day 3, Project 899. So yesterday we had a few issues with the car. Some of the parts didn't fit. We had the wrong parts, mainly our fault. But what we're doing today is we're going through that, and we've got parts on the order. Summit's bringing some stuff to help us out. It's going to be a big day here, and we're ready to get cracking.
So day 3, a lot of this carried over from day 2. We're going to get some parts to get this master cylinder, everything we had issues with yesterday. We should have parts here today, some point today, hopefully before the end of the day, before we call it the end of the day. The master cylinder parts, the accessory drive parts, the starter, a couple pigtails that we needed to install everything. We can get that radiator in. I think pretty much the most important things we need to get, I want to make sure that anti-roll bar is going to work with everything. So we need to do that before we can start on the exhaust, because again, they're kind of occupy the same space. We need to get the trans cooler in before we mount that gas tank in permanently. The bolt, it's going to go right underneath it, so we have to get the bolts in first, because we kind of have to work together on that one, or they need to work together on that. Before I can do any more wiring, I need to get that panel I made yesterday installed, so that's kind of top priority. And then we're just going to hopefully start crossing off most, if not all, these items today. So we'll get to it.
Sometimes when, given the parts availability, we don't have the stuff that we exactly need to work. We were able to get a really nice steering wheel, but we could not find one in stock, in time, available to get that had the holes for the trans brake button. I prefer to have trans brake buttons, and then the driver also prefers to have a trans brake button on the steering wheel so we can keep both hands on the steering wheel. So we had to take a piece of aluminum, fabricate it, cut it, bend it, mark some things with a marker so it fit. We drilled a couple holes in the steering wheel to add our trans brake button. So when we get up to the staging line, put on that 2-step and let off the button. We still got a trans brake button and a full use steering wheel.
We have our Wegner accessory drive, so we can finish this up. Thank you, Ben, Casey at Wegner, for getting us out of a jam. We now have our idler pulley, new belt, and bracket, so we can wrap up our accessory drive.
Did we get anything else?
We are mounting the transmission cooler, or small radiator is what it looks like. This transmission gets hot with this thing. We got other problems. We're going to drill some holes in the floor, and we're going to use handy dandy rib nut, just a kind of encapsulated nut that smooshes itself into place, so you don't have to have someone sitting in the trunk and someone underneath the car to tighten the bolts. And we'll rubber isolate it so it's all good, and it's what dreams are made out of, actually.
One step closer to having the rear light.
So it's time to put the shifter in. We're gonna let you check it.
Thank you.
One issue that's always posed with doing these custom swaps is radiator hoses. A lot of guys will normally just go to the parts store, try to find a rubber hose that kind of fits it, cut them, add extensions to them, or simply use one of those chintzy looking accordion styles. One way of doing a really good job is going out to Summit Racing, picking up some of these universal silicone couplers and some of their universal mandrel U-bends. They have them an 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches, which is what the size of most popular radiator hoses are. If you've got a welder and a dream, we'll cut them apart, we'll piece them together, and we'll have a nice custom formed radiator hose once we get it done.
Well, let's wrap up parts run number 2. Let's see if that'll hold us over for a little while.
Safety first, or third, whatever you prefer.
Starter wants to occupy the same space as this part of the block, and we don't need it anymore.
Finishing stuff up. Yeah, boy.
All right, guys, so it's day 3 at Big 3, wrapping up the Camaro, and actually we're making a whole lot of progress. Chuck's about 80% done with the wiring inside the car. We've got the engine compartment looking like an engine compartment, blowers mounted, accessory drives finished up, radiators in there, running all the hoses. In the back, we've got the fuel cell mounted, trans cooler, and the ice tank. The only question is, when's this thing gonna fire up? Chuck, when's this gonna fire up?
If we get enough parts, probably Friday.
Chuck says if we can get all enough parts, we're gonna fire it up Friday. We're rolling into day 4. Well, because we don't order the right thing the first time.
We have a throttle body.
Click.
Got the wiring about 80-ish% done. Almost everything in the car is done. We got to get the dash installed. We're just waiting on the dash bezel to come in. Radiator's in and mounted. I have to wire up the fans out here, wire up the starter. The plumbing for the intercooler stuff has been done in the engine bay. Now we just have to get it to the back. Today, big thing we're going to do is start on the exhaust system. Hoping to have a drive shaft in today. Plumb the fuel system, plumb the trans lines, button up the wiring down there by the trans. Still have to drill the hole for the shifter cable, get that installed, finalize the brake lines, get those bled. Our goal is to get it running tomorrow. So, and I'm not one just to do everything just to get it to start. I want to be able to start it and pretty much move it immediately after checking fluids. So it's not going to start until it's pretty much ready. So I'm going to be optimistic and say we might be almost done tomorrow. So by the end of day tomorrow, depending on when that end of day is. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get right back to it.
I'm trying to remember what we were doing.
Like with our lives?
The more things we can do for the final time, the happier I am.
I heard making hoses is your favorite.
You heard that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody lied to you. You gonna cut it? Not my finger, Bob.
Right there?
Yeah, that works.
You got 10 of them.
parts run number 3.
I didn't get a drain pan. Chuck's getting it for me though. So I'm just gonna stand here like an idiot.
Are very shiny, very nice Eddie Motorsports hood brackets. Built aluminum, look cool, function great, and we've got struts to help hold the hood up, which will make it really nice. So we're gonna get them bolted on.
So it's the end of day 4. Car's coming together quite nicely. We're gonna call it a day, come back tomorrow, start off fresh, and see if we can't get this thing to start. It's gonna be close. We'll see what happens. It's day 5, and we're here at Big 3. So today, we need to get the car running to stay on schedule. We're still missing a few parts, like fuel injectors and a drive shaft. Hopefully they'll be here. But we've got quite a bit of stuff we can button up in the meantime. So let's go.
Oh, we're on plan A, B, C, D, E, like G on mounting these things.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So we're gonna bolt them together, make a little panel, and get them in the car. I hug it while I'm working on it because I love it.
Get this regulator prepped to figure out where we're going to mount it.
Bob, I need you to calm down.
Calm down, Bob. I think everybody's attacking me.
Bob, why are you getting attacked right now, bro?
I need you to calm down.
Stop treating me like Rick. Okay, let's find out.
Got a white box? Yeah, that one.
Uh-oh, don't leave him hanging, Chuck.
I can't even say the word. Trying to figure out what's going to work best to run this flex fuel sensor, and that is not going to work.
So we just got our wheel and tires on the rear of the vehicle. We went with the RC component Torx Heathen. It's a new wheel that they've got. It's a single bead lock in a 15x9. We mounted a 275 ET Street Radial Pro on it. Should give us all the traction we need to hit our goal on the drag strip.
If you're not tucking at least to the top of the rim, you're not doing it right.
So it's the end of day 5, and we're getting really, really close to firing this thing up. We've got to finish the anti-roll bar, get some hoses and fittings on this deal, get a tune in it, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's day 6. Car still doesn't run.
So it's day 6. The car's still not running. Supposed to be running yesterday, but Rick had to go home early, so we didn't get it done like we were wanting to. So today we got 2 more fuel lines, 3 more fuel lines to do. mount the fuel filter, one more transmission line. We got to put a tune in the ECU still. Rick's just about done making that. Weld that anti-roll bar in. I made up some mounts for that yesterday, so now we just got to do a little bit of cleaning on the frame, get that in there, and then put a couple more fluids in it. Do a systems check on everything, make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to, and get it fired up and get it over to the dyno is the plan. So no more wasting time. Get to work. So this is our anti-roll bar. It's a universal kit from Rhodes that we got through Summit for our 69 Camaro. With the frame rails, they kind of taper back in the back. They get a little wider as you go further back. So you can't just weld it straight in to the bottom of the frame rail. Also, the factory frame rails aren't real thick, so I had to make a reinforcement plate for it. And it's kind of triangulated to make that square, because you need to have this anti-roll bar perfectly square in the car, and there can't be any bind on these bushings, or else it's just not going to work as well. So we kind of came up with this little design, and I think it's going to do good. So we're going to go ahead and get that welded back into the in between the frame rails.
Gotta get every last drop. We're about to put a tune in this thing, make sure all systems are a go, do a systems check on all the sensors, make sure they work, and then we're gonna put fire in the pipes.
So we fired it up the first time, popped right off, sounded good, but we had a small transmission leak. I forgot to tighten the fitting. This happens a lot on these types of builds when lots of people are working on stuff and got to pay attention to the details. So we got it fixed and we're going to start it again.
Dial in excel enrichment a little bit, idle tuning, make sure it revs smooth, make sure it comes back down to idle good. I'm trying to tweak that in. That's it, just trying to running through all the sensors, make sure everything's working, temperatures look good, things like that. So far I'm pretty happy with how it's working out.
I'm very happy that it's finally running. It's been a long, what are we on, day 6 now, so a lot of decently long hours waiting on parts, but all the frustration and everything makes it well worth it when we can finally hear it sitting here run.
Car's running great. Brakes were not doing what they were supposed to be doing, which was stopping the wheels. So upon investigation, we made a brake adjustment, and now we got to re-bleed the brakes.
Are you up, Bob?
So bleed the brakes, get it on the dyno, make horsepower.
Okay, so for like the past 2 hours, we've been chasing brake issues. Turns out we had a ton of air in the brakes. Had to pressure bleed it, and we're good now. So got brakes, gonna run it through the gears, get the rear end warm up, check, make sure everything's good, and then we're gonna hit the dyno. So it's the time we've all been waiting for. We're getting the car set up on the dyno. Will it make 900 horse? We think it will. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna have to look at boost numbers, air fuel, and all that stuff and see what's going on, but hopefully we won't be on the rollers for too long. up on it. Sounds rowdy though.
We have a low boost situation that we're trying to figure out. I was expecting to be in the 20s of boost, and we're only peaking at 13. So we're going to try switching the intake to our race intake tube, while also watching the one coupler off to make sure it's not collapsing. If that's not the issue, we're going to start looking at belt slip options, and we're going to find our horsepower.
Kind of fighting a boost issue. We need more boost. It's not making enough. It's making 12.5-ish pounds of boost, but it's not climbing. Whipples will usually climb a little bit, so we think it's got a belt slip issue. So I think what we're going to do is change to the bigger upper pulley and try to keep to the same length belt, so we make sure we have enough tension on the belt. So we're going to try that out, and hopefully that's the issue. And then we can try to maybe get a little shorter belt for it and go that issue, but really we just need to make sure it's belt slip and not just a pulley issue. If it's a pulley issue, we either got to get a bigger lower or a smaller upper. So we're going to try this out and see where we go from there.
So right now we're experiencing belt slip and we're not getting the boost that we need. We're going to throw a smaller belt on it and see if we can make more power.
I want to give you a high five too, but I don't want to high five the camera.
What we got, Chuck?
A couple little snappers, like the little white ones, but a little louder, just slightly louder. See who we can get.
Well, so we're still fighting belt slipping issues. So we are swapping around some pulleys to try to alleviate belt slipping issues so that we can make the boost that we want to make and the power we want to make.
Making some pulley combination changes. We found some idlers laying around that we're trying to make work. Picked up a little bit of boost. We're going to ice it up, spin a little higher, and put a little bit more timing in it and see what kind of power. We're getting really close to it. I mean, we're only about 40 horsepower away, so we're getting there. So.
This will be our fourth intake or air intake change. We actually just put a velocity stack right on the throttle body. We found that from the street pipe with the air filter to the race pipe with the velocity stack on the end, was about 30 horse, and then when we moved it out of the engine bay, we found another 22 horse. Now we're trying to get rid of that intake tube and the sharp 90 to just a velocity stack on the end. Now the velocity stack is a little smaller than the inlet of the throttle body, so after this we might even just try no velocity stack.
So it's the end of day 6 and we made some dyno pulls. The only issue is we haven't hit our number yet. So we just made 876. It's super close, but the guys have got a little more work to do. We're gonna come in early in the morning and hit it on day 7. Day 7. We're gonna make some power.
Well, we ended our late night yesterday falling 22 horsepower short of our 900 horsepower goal, letting the car cool down. We're gonna sprinkle in another degree of timing up top because the plugs look good when I checked them last night. We got our power pipe back on, and we're gonna see if we could get it done through the exhaust.
That's all we need. All right, so it's day 7, beginning of day 7. We just finished up with the dyno. We're static. It made the power we needed, almost 2 horsepower to spare. So those belt issues, we still had some, but I think we got enough to get the numbers. See what we can do in the future to make it long lasting. We still got a lot of work to do. We try to wrap it up today, but we got to get the hood fit. We're going to have to do some trimming to make that fit. So we're going to do that. Rick's going to start working on a drive shaft loop. Me and Bob's going to get this anti roll bar done. Kind of check everything over, check all the fittings, check for leaks, make sure nothing's rubbing. So still a lot of work to do, but we're going to get it all done today, I think. So.
Guesswork at its finest.
Well, that's a wrap for day 7. We got the underside of the car buttoned up, drive shaft looped on. Tomorrow we're going to finish out the interior, get the dash in it, wire up the Holly dash, and we'll be ready to rock. Welcome to day 8. We still need a dash. So it's day 8. We got a couple of things to button up on the car. We've got to get the hood on it. We've got to get it to the alignment shop, and we've got to finish the classic dash, which isn't here yet. So we're fingers crossed it shows up on time. But let's get to it.
Traditional drag race alignment, no camber, no toe, and all the caster we can give it.
It's the end of day 8. We got the diaper on it. We got the alignment done. We got everything fixed up. Tomorrow we're actually going to the drag strip to make some test hits. And hopefully we're going to yank the wheels, but we're not going to tell you the number because you're going to have to wait on that.
No hands. Watch out.
So we're out here at Dragway 42 getting ready to put some shakedown passes on the Camaro. We're not shooting for numbers or any Hail Marys. What we want to do is make sure the car's right and we don't have any issues before we load up for LS Fest.
The main goal for today, in my opinion, isn't necessarily to try to run the number. It's to get to 60 foot where we need it, in the 8th mile where we need it. To get this car to go 899 or faster, we're really going to have to get that 60 foot down in either the really low 130s, in my opinion, I think the high 120. 128, 127, 60 foot would make me extremely happy. So we're gonna have to, get the tire pressure right, figure out what that likes. We might have to play with the anti-roll bar a little bit, play with the front limiters, the shock settings. I mean, there's a lot that's gonna go into this, let alone just the tune with the timing control throughout the 60 foot. The goal is obviously to have all the timing in by the 60 foot, but we're just gonna have to see what the track will hold and try to keep the front end of the car down and not spin the tires. So we're going to make sure the car's ready to go, and we'll see you guys on the track.
Timing come out off the rip right there. It left and then
his foot came off the gas like it always did.
Okay, so we just made our first hit. Really soft tune-up. The car went a 680 at 90 miles an hour. 60 foot was only a 172, but we still pulled the wheels. So this thing's gonna be pretty rowdy. We're pretty excited right now. So the next thing we're gonna do is change tire pressure, probably put a little more timing in it, probably ice down the intercooler and go back up and make another hit.
from looking at the data log, looks like the driver needs a little remedial training. He did not go full throttle until about 4 seconds into the run. So we're going to go ahead and tell him to smash his foot through the floor this time, and we should see improvements through the 60 foot and the 300 foot just based off of that. First run felt pretty good. Used to turbo cars, not used to blower cars. Came up on two-step a lot faster than I'm used to. I'm used to bumping in and it taking a second or two for it to come up on boost. So as soon as it hit that two-step, I stopped pushing down on the pedal. So that one's on me for sure. And then when I realized I made the mistake, I pushed my foot down. So next run will be better for sure.
We had 17.6 PSI in the tire. I looked at the slow motion. It definitely had a little too much wrinkle in it. It's starting to wad up the tire a little bit. I'm going to go up to 18.2 in it, especially because we're going to put a little bit more power in it also. Pretty happy with the first pass. It went straight. It didn't go either direction when Bob let go of that button. So pretty happy there. Now we just got to stay full throttle in it, put a little more timing in it. I think we're heading in the right direction. So pass number 2 should be even better.
We just made our second hit. Got better than the first one, which is always a good sign. 60 foot was a 1.5. The 8th mile we went a 6.1 at 117 miles an hour. So we're definitely making moves that are awesome.
That pass felt a lot better because I pretty
Rick, I think Rick will confirm that I had my foot down this time, so that's good. Car felt stable, went pretty straight. Steering's really sensitive on this, so I'm getting used to that. My car's a little looser. Shouldn't say looser, the ratio's slower, so I'm still getting used to that, but other than that, it felt really good. So we'll see what the data log looks like, but it seems promising.
Definitely a lot better. Just over a 6.1, I think it was, in the 8th at 117. So we're definitely, like I said before, I wanted to work on the 8th mile and the 60 foot. This one, the burnout sounded great, way better than last time. At the launch, we started noticing it breaking up. So we're going to double check all the spark plugs. Actually, Rick's going to look at the tune. Because we have 2 wide bands in it, we can actually see from which bank was breaking up and misfiring. So we're going to start on that side, whichever side he tells me it is. Pull the plugs, take a look at that, double check all the wires, make sure nothing came unplugged, and see if we just lost a set of plugs or if it's something else, and change the tune up a little bit. We're double check all the slow-mo videos, make sure we're good on tire pressure, suspension's all set, but we'll probably leave the tune the same just because we haven't had a good A to B pass on this tune-up before we start trying to turn it up anything. So yeah, we're going to see what side it is and get after these spark plugs.
It sounded like it was breaking up a little bit, so we're going to see if we didn't snatch a plug wire, or the plug just might be ready to be replaced. It's got a lot of idle time and cruising on them, and they're ready to start plug. About to pull the data log, make sure our driver went full throttle, but it's showing some very good promise, given the ET, the time slip, with not a great pass. So I'm pretty excited for the next one.
Pass with the car, turned up the launch a little bit, or quite a bit, and it spun. I pedaled it to try to get some data and finally ran it out. Happy with the mile an hour. Definitely shows that we should be able to hit this goal, I feel. But other than the spin, felt good. So we'll get the launch figured out, and I think we'll be in good shape.
Just on the edge of what the track / suspension / power would handle on that. You did turn up the starting line quite a bit on that. Now we're going to go in between. Still went a 969 with a 1.860 foot time at 153, which tells us we have our potential. We've got the mile an hour. We're just going to have to string a pass together here. Hopefully this next one will be it.
So we just finished the third pass, the third hit on the car. Definitely went a lot faster. However, we put a little more rev limit, or a little more RPM in the launch. We put some more timing in it, and it definitely blew the tires off. We also adjusted the front shock, so I kind of want to go back on the front shock. I think the tire pressure is where we need to be. We can't really lower it too much unless we take a lot more power out of it. We don't want to run over the tire, so we're going to take the limiter out a little bit, the actual front end travel limiter. I think we're going to be able to get down once we pull a little bit of power out of it. So we did go a 960, I think it was, so we're definitely close. We definitely got the mile an hour we need. We just got to get that launch where we need it in the 130s. I think we'll be sitting pretty good to hit this goal of 899 or faster. So let the car cool down, make those couple changes, and see how it goes.
So this is pass number 4. Pass 3 was good. Had a great mile an hour, but now we're looking for 60 foot. So made it a little less spicy on the hit, and we're gonna roll out there and see what it does this go around.
This pass number 4, spun again. Still trying to get that launch tamed down, but it felt good other than that. decided to just let out early, no real reason, just not beat up on the car. But stayed in long enough for us to get some data, but still think we're on the right track, especially for how early I let out and what it actually ran. I think we're doing okay.
Track is not radial prepped. It's prepped for a slick tire car, so we are finding the power management sweet spot for these conditions. I feel we'll get it on this next one. We got a good video. I'm going to check out the dry shaft data, figure out where we spun, and probably pull some power out a little longer, and I think we'll go down the track this time.
So this was pass number 4. Still didn't get the car to hook. However, the 8th mile looked great. It went at 626 at 122. Gonna make some more adjustments on the rear of the car this time. That time we loosened up the front. This time we're gonna loosen up the rear. And then we're gonna go make one more hit and see if we can hit this number.
Run 5. We're hoping that it will leave on the power that we have in it, make a nice A to B pass, and if all that goes well, he stays in it the whole way, we should see at least an 899, if not faster. My guess would be 880s, you know, if all goes well, 60 foots in the 140s somewhere, and yeah, almost 160 miles an hour most likely. Made some tune changes, made some more suspension changes. He's going to run the drag on the track one more time, tighten it up a little bit for us, and I think that should be enough to do what we need to do.
Also, 15060. I was the best 60 foot of the day. Bring them back around and put it on the next setting up.
So that was our 6th pass, and we went a 891
154
at 154 miles an hour, 139.60 foot. So I mean, that's almost, couldn't be any more perfect. So the track crew was able to come out here and get a really good surface for us, make it extra sticky for our radial car, and it shows because we went from 150 60 foot down to a 139 60 foot. So I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. So I think we're ready for Bowling Green.
Still got a bunch in the tank too.
So we just made our last pass of the day. We've got weather moving in. It was a good pass. This build has been incredible. The guys at Big 3 have been great, and we've just had a great 9 days and enjoyed this totally.
So we're here at Holly LS Fest. We've got the car unloaded. We're ready to make some passes. So far, we've completed the car in the timeline that we wanted. We made some horsepower with it. We took it to the track to do some shakedowns, but nothing quite official yet. Today, we're gonna find out if we can run the number.
If you don't gap your spark plugs, you get the gap.
So we are headed up to the staging lanes to make our first pass. We left a tune-up in it that we had from testing, so we are hoping it's going to go A to B, run faster than 899. The track should be good. We're running after the stock block shootout category, so the track is normally prepped the best for that class. So our chances are good. The weather's nice, it's cool. The sun's not out making the track hot and sticky or anything like that. So far, it's a great turnout. LS Fest is packed this year. There are tons of awesome cars. We just want to get in where we fit in and have some fun.
Pushing? Yeah, pushing. Yeah, quite a bit.
So we just got done making the first pass of the day. It didn't go quite as planned. Started off really sketchy. We went to fire the car up to go to the starting line and it wouldn't start.
The car was built in less than 9 days.
Of course, you know, in front of a packed house with the announcer talking about the car and it doesn't start. We got it started eventually using a jump box. The car launched well, but it immediately started breaking up. We don't know if it's because of the electrical issue with the battery really not having enough juice or something like that. We've pulled the data log to see kind of what's going on. We're trying to cool the car down so we can pull the spark plugs and take a look at those as well. It did end up going 990 at 114 miles an hour with Bob letting out of it well before the finish line. Went 1.460 foot, which isn't great, but not terrible either. Hopefully we can get this figured out before we go up for the second run and we can run the number the next time.
So the two things we've changed from the last time is that we drained the fuel. It's got fresh fuel in it from Meyer. And we changed spark plugs, and now it doesn't work.
So that's what I was wondering if that, what the E85 content is, if that fuel's poor.
It's 67, which it had a little bit of pump gas left in it. And usually if you're over 65, 60%, you're golden.
It is tight. Okay. I can tell you. So the other option, we could pump this out, just go get a can.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Or 2 cans of Racy 85, just to
eliminate that.
Yeah, we only have so many shots here.
Right.
So
I wonder if we could get it out somewhere and just go make a couple of licks. Off to the dyno.
Pass 2 obviously didn't go as planned either. One of the issues that we have, we didn't really find a smoking gun. We found a loose ground, pull all the plugs, check the wires, everything looked okay. Runs okay at idle, revs up clean, but under load, it was breaking up. So we brought it back to the pits. We pulled all the plugs again, checked all the wires, put a brand new set of plugs in them, re-gapped them, checked them again. It pays to know people and to be friendly with people because they're letting us use their dyno here so we could actually make a test pass on the dyno versus wasting our third and final pass of the day to go see if it's actually fixed. So just to recap, we drained the fuel, put fresh Renegade Racy 85 in it, got rid of the pumpy 85 just in case we got a bad batch of fuel. New spark plugs again, checked all the grounds, went over all the wiring, make sure we don't have anything loose or coming apart, and we're hoping we have it fixed, maybe. Well, so stay tuned, we'll find out here in a minute on the dyno.
Up here for pass number 3. We've had issues all day. We haven't ran the number yet. We've made quite a few changes. We put it on the dyno to test it. It made 915 on the dyno here at the wheels. So hopefully this pass will be the one for us. I'm praying this goes well. Right now. This is BS. The car runs great, missed the shift, and goes 9-1. If it made the shift, it definitely would have ran 890. You're still filming me and I'm still pissed off, Chris.
Well, yesterday we rode the struggle bus pretty hard. We did change two things from the last time of testing. We put brand new spark plugs in the car and we drained the fuel and put fresh fuel into it. First pass, obviously it broke up. Second pass, we thought we found a loose ground that might have been the issue. It broke up. Since then, obviously we drained the fuel, put fresh Racy 85 in it. We put another brand new set of spark plugs in, even though they looked fine. And we went and hit the dyno and everything seemed good. Went under the lights. It left good, didn't break up, went smooth. The air shifter failed to work for some reason. Bob grabbed the shifter, went first to third. Still went a 916 at over 150 miles an hour. So we know the car's got it. So I went to bed actually feeling pretty good, even though we didn't get our 8-second pass yesterday. But I'm very confident if everything goes right, we'll get it first thing today. So went to bed feeling good. Woke up feeling pretty okay.
Shifting issue figured out, just a little move of the cable. Tested it 27 times last night and it worked every time. So it probably won't work on this pass, but we'll see. If it leaves like it did last night, maybe it'll go in 880, something, maybe. I don't know. Fantastic. That was way better than we thought it was going to run. We would love to see 80s out of this thing. It went 91 in testing. So this pass, very excited. We think there's probably some more in it. After the successful pass earlier today, we got a little excited, hit up our buddy Shane at Chaotic Speed to work out a little grudge race with his big wheel car known as the Bill Collector. This thing makes a ton of horsepower. It's powered by a Steve Morris SML twin turbo deal. We're hoping since he's on a big wheel, he won't get away from us, but it should be a somewhat close race, we hope. So we'll see what happens.
We've been leaving at half throttle and kind of rolling into the throttle so we don't kick the tire on it. We're definitely going to go full throttle. Yesterday on the dyno with the Racy 85, we found a little bit of power. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more timing into the engine. That it made the peak power on yesterday on the dyno to see if we could pick up a little bit of ET and mile an hour. And apparently somebody was running their mouth and we have a grudge race with probably the world's fastest donk. So I don't know who's paying the $5,000 bill on that one, but we might be eating steak tonight.
As long as it doesn't spin, I think it'll be a good race. He's definitely gonna mile an hour us, so he's gonna have to run us down. So we'll get him out of the hole for sure. So again, as long as it doesn't spin. But either way, I think it's gonna be a close race. His is turned down.
Ours is turned up.
And ours is turned up. So we'll see what happens.
was pretty wild. As you probably saw, it put it on the bumper almost. Actually, it did. There was some scrapes and sparks. It was a good race. We knew we could out 60 foot him, but he would freight train us out the back. He just makes way more power than we do. We'll have to go look at the time slip and see how close the race was. It looked like it was fairly close, but it was a good race. We had fun. So it's Sunday here at LS Fest. We're wrapping up the weekend. We're wrapping up Project 899. So to recap our project, we started with a 1969 Camaro rolling chassis. It had a cage in it, but that was really about it. From there, we added our late model engines, L8T with a Whipple supercharger, ATI Turbo 400, strange rear end, QA1 suspension, Mickey Thompson tires, RC component wheels. Really built a really nice race car. The goal was to do it in 9 days. We were able to build the car, get it on the dyno, take it to the track, and even test it all in those 9 days. So we were super stoked about that. On the dyno, we met our goal of at least 899 horsepower. We made 901 at Big Three's dyno. It was admittedly a heartbreaking Mustang dyno and a little stingy with the horsepower numbers. Here at LS Fest, we put it on their mobile chassis dyno, and it made 915 pretty easily. So we're confident the thing makes a ton of power. In testing, we were able to actually get our goal of 899 or quicker in the quarter mile. We went 891. So we knew the car could do it. We essentially had met all of our goals in that 9-day period. We brought it to LS Fest to showcase it to the biggest LS gathering in the country, really. So couldn't be happier with the way the car performed in front of the big crowd here at LS Fest. So happy we talked Shane Speed from Chaotic Speed into a little grudge race with a dunk. His car makes a ton of power and is super fast, and it was a good, interesting little grudge race. The crowd was all for it. We did a big wheelie, barely lost to him. Can't be mad about it. You know, that car's super fast, but all in all, you know, this weekend turned out to be a huge success. We met all of our goals for the car. Really can't wait to do the next one. If you like this type of content, please go check out our Power and Performance YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next project.